I said, "Hey, sweetie." The words left my mouth before I could reel them back in. Centuries of human diplomacy, rehearsals, cultural simulations, and I opened first contact with the Galactic Empire's heir by calling her sweetie. A roomful of alien dignitaries froze. The Varelians, 10-foot-tall bioluminescent beings wrapped in layers of ceremonial armor, turned toward me in collective shock. Their posture stiffened like someone had committed sacrilege. The universal translator paused for a breath longer than was comfortable, recalibrating. Across from me, the princess herself, Alessandra Veer, stood expressionless, at least at first. Then, to the horror of her attending guards, her cheeks flushed pale lavender, a Virelian blush. Her silver eyes widened just a fraction. And then, "Gods help me," she smiled. A slow, deliberate curl of her lips that shimmered faintly under the ship's ambient glow. It was the kind of smile that broadcast both curiosity and danger. "Yes, darling," she replied. Laughter, not from anyone else, just us, me, half nervous, half hysterical from the stress. Her, delighted by the tension she'd just shattered. The room didn't know how to process what had just happened. I was already dead, at least diplomatically. You don't call a crown heir of a militarized monarchy, sweetie. During a formal peace summit, no one had briefed me on how royal Varelians respond to flirting during interstellar negotiations. After the summit adjourned, I was pulled aside by my handler, Saito, a UN diplomat with 20 years of interspecies protocol drilled into his bloodstream. "You just seduced a superpower," he hissed, with a pet name. I was trying to break the ice. I said, pulling at my collar. It was tense. I panicked. "You called her sweetie." I panicked politely. Alessandra's staff didn't press charges. In fact, they requested another meeting, privately. Sato's eyes widened when he read the communique. "She wants you to explain human mating language." Mating language? Her words, not mine. An hour later, I stood in the private chamber aboard the Varelian cruiser Charatel, face to face with royalty. She dismissed her guards with a wave of her six-fingered hand and studied me like a puzzle. "You are Elias Trent, Captain Diplomatic Attaché," she said. "Guilty as charged," I replied. "You refer to me as sweetie? What is the strategic purpose of this term?" "No strategy. It's just affectionate." "Affectionate?" she repeated, tilting her head. "Explain." "Well, I began. It's informal, soft, usually said between people who like each other. Friends, lovers, sometimes parents and kids. Depends on context." She nodded slowly. "Your language is inefficient. Emotionally chaotic," I corrected. "We're good at that." She took a step closer, her gaze dissecting me. "Are you always this careless with royal figures?" "Only the charming ones." That made her pause. Then, "You are not like the others." "Thank you." It was not praise. It was confusion. I smiled. "Same thing on Earth." For a moment, she was silent. Then her expression shifted. Playful, calculated. "Very well, Captain. If you wish to continue this cultural exchange, you must define more terms." "Sure. What is cutie pie?" I choked. Like sweetie, but more childish. Playful. Am I a cutie pie?" That depends if you like pie." She blinked. "We do not consume pies." "Then yes, you are a cutie pie in spirit." She seemed satisfied, then added, "And Snugglebug? Where are you getting these?" "Your social network archives. I've been studying." I didn't know whether to be flattered or terrified. That night, back in my cabin, I was hounded by messages from Saito. "What did you say this time?" he demanded. She asked about Snugglebugs. "She's royalty, Elias. This isn't a dating sim." Feels like one. The next summit was even weirder. Alessandra greeted me with a subtle wink, an actual wink, something no Varelian had ever publicly done. The translator paused again, confused by subtext. This time, I held my tongue. I bowed respectfully. "Good morning, Your Radiance," I said with maximum diplomatic formality. She frowned. I preferred, sweetie. I tried not to visibly panic. During the talks, she subtly shifted her speech. She called me darling twice. Once during a discussion of planetary borders, another during a dispute over mining rights. Each time, it threw the room off balance. Alien delegates began to observe our interactions more than the agenda. Whispers circulated. One Sarlan ambassador filed an inquiry asking if Earth was pursuing romantic conquest tactics. Later, I found out the Galactic Council had issued a memo on human verbal seduction patterns and their disruptive potential in multilateral agreements. We were officially a problem. Still, the princess kept requesting time with me. She asked about sarcasm, irony, metaphors. She found it delightful that humans said one thing but meant another. I told her about puns. She tried one. It involved quantum particles and cake. It was terrible. I laughed anyway. You are mocking me, she accused. I'm encouraging progress. You find my confusion endearing? In the best way. She paused. Then I shall continue to confuse you. That is how your people express interest, is it not? I blinked. Something like that. By the end of the week, we had a growing problem. What started as a small linguistic hiccup had become a media event. Varelian holocytes began posting memes. Yes, memes, about Princess Alessandra and her pet human. Earth's networks fired back with fan art. Headlines like "Star-Cross Across the Stars" and dramatic remixes of our quotes. Someone auto-tuned her saying, "Yes, darling." It went viral in 12 systems. The Varelian Council demanded an explanation. The Empress herself issued a statement warning against improper emotional fraternization with primitives. Alessandra ignored it completely. During our next meeting, she leaned in close and whispered, "Do you know what I enjoy most about your kind?" "What?" "You speak as if feelings are strength. Here, that is considered reckless. Where I come from," I said, "not speaking your heart is how wars start." She studied me again. "Then perhaps we are overdue for a little recklessness." I didn't answer. I didn't need to. She already knew. Our translator sputtered mid-sentence, trying to decode the silence. And that's how it started. Not with a declaration. Not with a treaty. Just a poorly timed sweetie. And a princess who decided that maybe humans weren't so primitive after all. Alessandra invited me again, this time to her personal chamber. No aides, no guards, just her and me. A quiet space glowing with bioluminescent patterns. Soft hums vibrating from walls that felt alive. "I've reviewed over 200 human idioms," she said, hands folded behind her back. "Half of them are about food, the other half about animals. Do you bond through chaos?" "More or less," I said. Try not to stare at the transparent architecture flowing around her like a heartbeat. "We like mixing metaphors with feelings. It keeps life spicy." "Spicy," she repeated. "This is a sensation of pain you willingly seek." "Why?" "Because sometimes pain and pleasure aren't opposites. They're intensifiers." She considered that, eyes narrowing thoughtfully. "So when you call me sweetie, you weren't claiming me. You were softening the moment." "Exactly. You looked like you were about to execute everyone in the room. I was trying to survive." She cracked a smile. "You chose well. Most would have panicked in silence." "Most aren't me. I've noticed." There was a silence neither of us rushed to fill. She gestured toward a small table, and Saturday, "Teach me something." "Like what?" "Your mating wit. Your banter." "I want to understand." "You want a crash course in human flirtation?" "Correct." "All right," I said, leaning forward. "Rule 1, teasing is affection. Rule 2, if we roast you, we like you. Rule 3, sincerity is scarier than sarcasm." "Noted. Begin." I cleared my throat. "Nice antennae. You always style them like that, or is it a galactic fashion risk kind of thing?" She blinked. "They are sensory extensions, not ornaments." "That's what makes it bold." A long pause. Then, "Your teeth are oddly spaced. It makes you look permanently surprised. Now you're getting it." She smirked. You resemble a fragile mammal pretending to be brave. You look like an intergalactic jellyfish in royal cosplay. There was a beat of silence. Then she laughed. A real laugh, sharp and musical. This is fun. It's called roasting. Our favorite human bonding activity. She nodded slowly. Then I challenge you. Challenge me? To a formal exchange of insults. You're proposing a joke duel? Yes, before our delegations. I want them to see what emotional warfare looks like. You know I'll win, right? I intend to make you earn it. The next day, she made it official. A cultural demonstration of ritualized human humor. It was scheduled right after a tense trade negotiation. Perfect timing to confuse everyone. Delegates from 13 species gathered. Some assumed it was theater. Others thought it was a trap. I stood at one podium, Alessandra at the other. She wore ceremonial robes. I wore my regular uniform and a smirk. She opened with, "Your facial symmetry is so statistically average, it could be used as a standard measurement for mediocrity." The room blinked in confused silence. I clapped slowly. Wow, that almost hurt. You know what else hurts? Your fashion sense. Your robes look like a rejected curtain from a casino in Vegas. She tilted her head. Vegas? You're not ready. My turn, she said, lips twitching. You speak as if what is your weapon. But your metaphors are so mixed, they require a translator of their own. Oof, I winced. That's good, but not as good as your diplomatic presence. You walked into the summit, and half the room thought a chandelier had come alive. There was a ripple of uncertain laughter from humans. The aliens looked increasingly concerned. The Sarlan ambassador whispered something into a comm device. Then Alessandra raised a hand and delivered a structured verse. Your hair defies gravity, your posture, pride. But in the war of words, your fleet has died. A rose haiku. I almost applauded. A poetic strike. Okay. You want rhyme? Fine. You sparkle and shimmer, a sight to behold. But girl, even diamonds get boring when they're cold. The humans in the room erupted with low, suppressed laughter. Even a Sarlan chuckled, which was rare enough to be documented. Alessandra leaned over and whispered, "Did I win?" I whispered back, "You murdered me with poetry." I yield. The room didn't understand what just happened, but they felt it. Emotional tension broken. Ice cracked. Somewhere, an analyst was having a nervous breakdown. After the duel, she and I stood alone in the corridor. Her tone shifted. "Your people use humor as armor," she said. "And weapons," I added, "but mostly bridges. I want to know everything." I smiled. That's dangerous curiosity. You said sarcasm is affection. Sometimes. So when I say you're an arrogant, fragile little monkey, that's flirting. She paused. Then I'm flirting. Well, I said, you're getting scarily good at it. Over the next few days, we kept meeting quietly, discreetly. She wanted to know about stories, jokes, sitcoms, internet culture. I told her about Earth's ridiculousness. She soaked it in like sunlight. I taught her how to wink. She taught me how Varelians show affection through touchless gestures, specific finger patterns, light-based signals only visible in certain spectrums. One day, she sent a coded pulse through the hallway walls. It hit my translator like static, but I felt it. Later, she admitted, that was a Varelian equivalent of a kiss. I didn't know what to say, so I said what I always did. "Hey, sweetie." She smiled. "Yes, darling." We laughed, again, and something about that made everything else quieter. For a moment, it wasn't about Earth and Varelia, not war, not treaties, just us, and the strange joy of two minds fumbling towards something real in the middle of galactic nonsense. Of course, it couldn't last, not without someone noticing. That evening, Alessandra received a message from her mother. The Empress knew, and she was not pleased. Her words were sharp, final, royal. Your affection for the human is unbecoming. Return immediately. This behavior will cease. I asked her, "Are you in trouble?" "Yes." "Because of me?" "No. Because I didn't lie about it. I looked at her, heart pounding. Do you regret it? She met my gaze, calm as ever, not for a second. And that terrified me more than anything, because I didn't either. The next day, she was gone. No warning, no farewell, just a diplomatic communique announcing that Princess Alicent Veer had returned to Varelian Prime to resume royal duties. The document was sterile, precise, and utterly devoid of her. Saito approached me with narrowed eyes. She's been pulled, he said. Empress invoked royal seclusion protocols. That means zero contact. No comms. No delegation access. So she's locked in a castle somewhere? More like a fortress. You broke her orbit, Elias. I didn't plan this. She did, and you didn't stop her. I didn't want to. His silence confirmed what I already knew. We had crossed a line, and now the galaxy was adjusting its aim. 3 days later, Earth received an encrypted message from an unknown channel. It bypassed 10 layers of galactic filtering and landed directly in my private terminal. It was from her. For words, don't trust the silence. I stared at it for 10 minutes before I responded, "What's happening?" No reply. Then an hour later, a second message arrived, embedded in a disguised data burst, hidden inside a cultural archive file. The kind of trick only she would think to use. The Council is preparing to isolate humanity. You embarrass them. They fear emotional diplomacy. They will erase the variable. Erase the variable. That meant us. Earth. Me. Diplomats from 3 allied species suddenly canceled talks. Trade routes were rerouted. Varelian representatives stopped showing up to meetings. One by one, contact slowed, then halted. Saito pulled me aside. They're ghosting us. We're being quarantined. Worse, he said, we're being staged. The Galactic Council had seen enough of humanity's unpredictable emotional influence. Humor, compassion, irrational loyalty. Traits the Council didn't respect until we weaponized them without meaning to. Now, we were seen as a contagion. I reviewed the last message from Alicent again. Hidden in the code was a pulse signature. Coordinates, barely decipherable. She wanted me to come to her. It was suicidal. Varelian Prime was deep inside restricted space, protected by defensive systems so advanced they made Earth's entire fleet look like floating scrap. But I went anyway. I stole a diplomatic courier vessel, masked its ID, and punched through 3 unauthorized gates before the alarm started. Saito, to his credit, covered for me until he couldn't. By the time I reached Varelian territory, I had half the Empire's patrols on my tail. I didn't care. She was waiting. The coordinates led me to a space station embedded inside a translucent moon. It wasn't on any star maps. No incoming signals. No outgoing heat. Hidden in plain sight. The docking clamps didn't even resist. They pulled me in like I was expected. When the hatch opened, she stood there. Same shimmering eyes. Same unreadable smile. "You're late," she said. I was chased through 3 systems. "You brought warships?" "Just me. They'll come later." She raised a brow. "You risked everything for a conversation." "I'm not here for a conversation." She tilted her head. "Then for what?" "For you." There was a pause, a breath of silence, so dense it felt like gravity itself bent. Then she turned and walked deeper into the station. "Follow me." Inside, the station was a vault of memories, images of different species, language archives, recorded voices, laughter, anger, singing. A museum of feelings. "This is forbidden," she said, fingers brushing a hologram of Earth's first broadcast signal. I figured. "I told the Council your kind were valuable, not because of your weapons or tech, but because of your chaos." "That's flattering." They didn't agree. "Figures." She stopped, looked at me. "They're planning a unification decree. Earth will be absorbed or severed. No middle ground." "And you?" I argued. "Too much. They stripped my title, reassigned my lineage rank, locked me out of policy." "You're a princess without a throne." She smiled. "No, I'm a weapon without orders." I didn't ask what she meant until the station pulsed once. Bright, soft, alive. It's a legacy station, she said. A relic from the first cycle. It's not just data. It's voice, memory, emotion, proof. Of what? That empathy works. That connection doesn't weaken civilizations. It tempers them. And the council? They buried it, rewrote history, but displaced its teeth. The lights shifted, activating centuries of archive emotion from hundreds of species. Rage, grief, love. It washed over me like a wave. I staggered. She reached out, steadied me. No touch, just presence. You feel it. Yeah. They don't want people to remember how powerful emotion is, how much it shaped alliances before fear took over. I breathed in. Then let's remind them. She looked at me. Are you sure? They came for our silence. Let's give them noise. The plan was madness. We would use the station's ancient broadcast cores to reach every major relay in the quadrant. Not just facts, but emotion, stories, songs, jokes, speeches, truth, feelings no council could regulate. A viral overload of humanity's greatest weapon, the unfiltered, chaotic heart. She looked at me before we activated the transmission array. If this fails, we vanish. If we don't try, we're already gone. She smiled. One last thing. What? Call me sweetie. I blinked. Now. I smirked. Hey, sweetie. She whispered. Yes, darling. And we laughed. The console lit up. The station awakened. Broadcast initiated. The transmission spread faster than the council could react. Within hours, hundreds of species, some aligned, most neutral, were receiving a data stream that bypassed firewalls and protocol. It wasn't encrypted. It wasn't propaganda. It was raw. Voices, laughter, conflict, tears. Speeches from Earth's darkest hours. Songs from its brightest. Moments where humanity cracked under pressure and got back up. The montage ended with a simple message, translated into every known language. Emotion is not weakness. It is the reason we survive. Then came a scene. Alessandra standing beside me. No title, no robes, just a voice. You erase the legacy of unity. We remember. We restore. The council declared the message illegal within minutes. But the damage was done. It was copied, mirrored, echoed across colonies and private comms. Underground networks spread faster than light relays. For once, silence had a rival. Us. The backlash was immediate. Sanctions, patrols, warrants. Varelian hunters dispatched with orders to seize the rogue station and eliminate the human instigator. Me. But they were too slow. By the time the first destroyers arrived, we'd already shifted the station's location, using old spatial tunneling tech built into its foundation. Another relic. Undocumented, unstable, but functional. We jumped. Twice. The third time, something cracked. Alessandra screamed. The walls bled light. Gravity inverted. And then everything went still. We weren't in known space anymore. No charts. No pulses. The stars were wrong. This isn't just a station. I whispered. She nodded. It's a witness. What does that mean? It records civilization-level trauma. It feeds on memory. And we just gave it a century's worth in one day. The console flickered, displaying an ancient glyph. Accepted. Then a prompt. Ready to testify? We both stared. Alessandra exhaled slowly. It wants us to finish the story. So we did. We uploaded everything. Our records. Conversations. The roast duel. The laughter. The kiss coated in light. The moment we broke protocol and chose connection over protocol. The station took it all. And then it moved, not through space, through history. We watched as the station projected us into real-time galactic feeds, council chambers, broadcast relays, tribunal sessions, not recordings, live holograms, uninvited, and censored. We were standing in front of billions. I heard a voice. Sedos, Elias, is that you? Where the hell are you? But the feed overrode everything. I looked at Alessandra. She nodded, so I spoke. We're not enemies. We're not anomalies. We are what happens when survival meets meaning, when logic embraces madness, when a species that should have died 1,000 times find a reason to live, over and over, because it can feel. She added, you fear our chaos, but chaos is what creates stars. Somewhere, a Virelian fleet hesitated. One ship disengaged. The council called it a psyop. They denounced Alessandra as corrupted. They labeled me a threat to galactic order. But people kept watching. One species, the Jirelians, refused a council mandate for the first time in a century. A rogue Carthan colony opened negotiations with Earth. Even the Sarthans, cold as stone, issued a non-aggression statement for the duration of cultural recalibration. We were winning, not with lasers, not with tech, with meaning, and that terrified them more than any weapon. But the council wasn't finished. They tracked the station's new location. They sent a vanguard, no diplomacy, just warheads. 17 cruisers. One purpose. We had no defenses. They'll breach in minutes, Alessandra said, staring at the approaching fleet. Then we end it now. I replied, we had one card left. The station had stored enough charge from emotional resonance to perform one final action. It wasn't clear what that meant, only that it was irreversible. She looked at me. This could kill us. Or rewrite everything. No halfway? No halfway. She stepped to the console, placed her hand above the glyph. Together, I joined her. Always, we activated the pulse. Time folded. The pulse wasn't a weapon. It was a mirror. Every ship that approached us was flooded, not with damage, but with empathy. Every pilot, commander, technician suddenly saw what we saw, felt what we felt. It was overwhelming. Minds shattered. Others opened. Some ships powered down. Some wept. One even turned and fired on its own fleet, protecting us. The council's force fractured before it ever reached us. And then silence. We waited. A message came through, not from the council, from the people, across thousands of systems. 3 simple words. We remember now. Alessandra slumped, exhausted. It worked. I caught her. Of course it did. It was human. She laughed, weak but real. You arrogant little mammal. You sparkling jellyfish in a cape. I love you. I know. She blinked. That's it? I confess galactic treason, love. And you give me a smug movie quote. It's how we do things. She smiled. Then I'm glad I chose you. The station, spent, powered down its broadcast systems. But the signal lived on, carried by people who heard the truth and refused to forget. We stayed hidden for a while. Not because we were afraid, but because change takes time. When the council fell, piece by piece, vote by vote, we weren't there to see it. But our story was. And when I walk the rebuilt halls of Earth's new embassy, I still hear it whispered, "Hey, sweetie." "Yes, darling." And sometimes they laugh,